Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. We got a special tactical episode for you guys today about building a seven-figure company. I just got off of a phone call learning that we're not going to make 20 grand tomorrow, and I'm fucking mad. Last minute title issues. Those are always the worst. I am Strat Daddy. We built two seven-figure companies. We have a seven-figure real estate portfolio, and we are doing a seven-figure net challenge all on the internet for everybody to see. Don't forget to tune in on my YouTube channel. And if you're watching this, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. We have Mr. Captain America, Dean Rogers.
What's up, baby? What's up, guys? Your other co-host, Dean Rogers. Really excited about today's podcast. I love anytime I get to dive in with other entrepreneurs and just talk about business and chop it up. So excited about today's episode. For those that don't know me, I started my career in the NFL. Then I transitioned to corporate, then into real estate. Been investing in real estate for just over a decade now. We're getting really close to doing 700 deals. We just closed a monster deal today for $125,000 wholesale fee. We can break that down later. Pretty excited about that one. Have an 8-figure rental portfolio, coaching students how to get started in real estate with wholesaling. And then you guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com.
Is that the one with Chad?
Yep.
That's a killer one.
Yeah, just sent the wire to him, which is pretty cool.
75K?
125 and a half is 62.5. So
125 and a half. I'm still though 62 and in a JV is a killer.
That's pretty
deal
nice
for someone.
Yeah. Pretty sweet.
That's a killer deal. All right. What do we have? I don't have I'm using my phone as my webcam to combat the Obama internet today. So what are we using as far as AI in our business is one topic. And then we're diving into the 7-figure stuff. I think for AI, and Shanae's probably watching this, this is where we simply could improve if they implemented this one AI bot from an outside company that I think is really, really good to where, because we have so many leads, and you'll run into this, Dean, with OmniDrip, we have conversations going on all day, every day, which makes it a lot harder than I thought it would.
Yeah.
We'd say we have a couple thousand leads in there.
You got to be on top of the responses, right?
Bro, you have to be fucking on top of the responses. And so if you had an AI bot who could respond and take that conversation we need it to be, that would be a lot easier to where Simply is just not built for that. They have an AI bot, but it's not built for that. But the closest thing to AI we have is the drip campaigns. It's coming.
It's coming. They're working on it. So I know that I've seen examples.
I have no doubt that Sherrod is not working on it. I have no doubt that they are not shipping product right now as we speak.
Yeah, he's working on it. So
what else do we use their AI call automation, AI call summary though. That is a game changer. It's fucking amazing. It's worth it.
Is it?
It's worth it. Yeah.
We haven't used it because we have our leads manager listening to every single call, and she summarizes, the notes that we took. And then she, as a part of listening to that, she then follows through with like supporting it moving forward and kind of
way better
helping admin.
It's $149 a month for unlimited. It'll summarize every single call. It gives you every single takeaway and next step. All she does is click a button, and then she doesn't have to listen to anything. It'll
okay. So this is actually this is a really good conversation. So here's where I like that, and here's where I don't. Okay, when it comes to AI summarizing a meeting, summarizing a call, summarizing something I didn't hear myself, can it pull out and take away some key topics and check box type things? Yes, you would expect it to, right? Where it wouldn't necessarily pick up, and where I think having someone listen to it is actually going to continue to be an advantage, and where you spending $149 a month gets you almost all the way there by me investing the time with having somebody listen to the calls. They might pick up on that one thing the seller said in a certain context or with a certain level of emotion or something that we need to stay clued in on, right?
I don't think it needs to be binary, but I think it's still 10x your person's output.
That I believe,
and
that it
gives you a transcript of the call too, minute by second.
Yeah.
And so you can go to like, hey, at this point they said this, at this point they said this, at this point they said this, to where even if you still want your person to do that, that just gives them 10x the output to be able to do it and be more on top of it and get more done during the day. So now they can move on to another task, and it increases your profitability.
What might be good is to do the summary and then to see where in the conversation they were talking about the motivation and go replay that call and listen to that. So one thing that in Resimply, I'm going to message Sherrod right now, is when you're playing back the calls, it doesn't say what second you're on the bottom.
Yeah, you notice that? With the AI summary, it helps you.
Yeah. It'll give you a sense of where it's at in the conversation, right? Okay. I'm going to write that note to him. So you jump into the next thing.
Pay for the 149 summary.
I should probably do it. It's
worth it. It is, it's amazing. And now I don't take notes. I take very little notes because I know I can have a transcript and I can have an AI summary. And so that just allows me to like think about the seller, and I just like write down little points, but I know that entire phone call is recorded. I don't have to worry about notes. I don't have to transcribe anything, and bam, it's there. And to where now the dispositions person can just look at it, read the notes, see what's going on. Awesome. Okay, I'm good to go. Like the transaction coordinator, because we have to send them like our whole file of what's going on with this property. We can send that entire thing to there. It's all summarized. It's amazing. Shout out Resimply. I know Shanae's. I think I saw Shanae on Instagram. Wait till you see the other sexy updates we have rolling out, bro.
Who said that?
Shanae.
So I was just talking with Sherrod about some of the updates that are coming in a couple of weeks here, and I'm really, really excited about them. Yeah, it just keeps getting better and better, man. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah. What else am I using as far as AI? The AI call summary. If we don't use their Chat GPT bot because we have so many coming in that are so dynamic, it's not built for that yet. Like you'd have to be pretty smart in order to adapt, and they haven't had the time to build it out. What else are we using AI for? I use AI to help me with my writing. I use it just to like check my grammar and help me come up with like different phrases, because I am trying to work on my writing.
Which one are you using for that?
I pay for ChatGPT, like whatever they're.
They do grammar checks and all that stuff too.
But I use it for everything. Today I was like, okay, because I was like, I heard this word cacophony the other day. I was like, okay, so I think I understand the context of this. But I posted, it was like what is that? I was like something like the cacophony of stupidity and idiots that are real estate agents is beyond me, right? And the cacophony is just like a large group of something that is very annoying. That's what I think of real estate agents most of the time when we're dealing with them at mass and you don't have any relationships with them, right? And so like stuff like that, or helping me add in better metaphors when I'm writing, because I'm trying to work on that, of like you cutting it down and adding it and doing better storytelling that creates a picture in someone's head.
Yeah.
And so it can help you with that.
Yeah. I'm going to be doing this right now because my social media, I'm going to be changing a lot to have more storytelling in it and less about the talking head videos, more about the storytelling. So what I'm going to be doing is helping use ChatGPT to help prompt it to tell me, hey, what's a good description for this? What's a good caption for this? What's a good title for this? That way, I'm not as stagnant on it. So we got Mr. Fuller here in IG saying Microsoft Word has surprisingly good editing feature for grammar, not just review, but editing.
So I don't use Word. I only use Docs. I use docs for everything because everybody's everywhere.
Yeah. I like to use Microsoft Word as well. I like docs too for when I want to share it with a bunch of people, but yeah, Microsoft Word has been doing AI for,
their spell check saved my
decades.
life in college. Yeah. Their spell check.
Exactly.
Someone said MiG 707. I probably know who this is. I don't know who it is. They said sup daddy. It's kind of sus, not gonna lie.
Dang.
Really sus, in my opinion.
Is that a male or female?
You gotta say Strat daddy. It was a dude. If it was a female, you'd know it'd be one of those bots.
Yeah, right.
One of those bot followers
from Asia. Dude, I can't. They won't stop sending me messages on Instagram and directly to my phone. They'll be like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend, Emily? I can't wait to see you." And then like send a picture of themselves. And it's like they're just trying to bait you in and be like, "I'm not Emily. Oh, I'm sorry. You seem like such a nice person."
It has to be working though, is the thing.
It's got to work for
to be working for them to be doing it at mass. They wouldn't be doing it at mass if they weren't making money. You got to think about that.
Aaron says you can use ChatGPT to write your whole content. It'll give you story ideas, real ideas, all kinds of things. It's great with minimal work for you. Yeah. The key on AI for sure is you got to know what the right prompts are. Because if you get it minimal information or you don't prompt it right,
yeah, like you got to. What do you want to use this for?
You got to give it context, right? If you don't do that, then it won't give you great responses. It will give you decent ones, but the better you are at prompting it, the better you get responses. Pat Hill says,
using any other?
Cacophony is a great album by Marty Friedman and Jason Becker. Apparently, Cacophony is being used elsewhere.
Okay. And I heard that I want to try and I was thinking about how can I throw in like a random killer word every podcast, just like it's gonna up.
That's your new thing.
The grammar. I thought about it. Like, do I want to commit to it for the rest of the year?
People are gonna come back to see the word you chose for the day.
Yeah, wow. Because on some of these podcasts I listen to, I have to like pause it to make sure I get the context of it right. And I'm not saying I listen to like this super high level stuff, but some dude who may be like he went to like business school. They use fucking different words. Like they're a little bit more buckled up than we are when we're having conversations. And so sometimes I have to go dig for context.
I don't think you need all that stuff. You know what's interesting and why
you don't
I love
need
real
business
estate
school now
is some people like to act smarter than they are and use big words. But dude, when it comes to real estate investing as a business, it's just simple elementary school math and knowing how to put the deal together that's going to be a win-win for people. I mean, it's not you having to be some expert or understand law or understand like all these complex things. It's just the art of like simple math, what's a win-win, and how you can help people and make people feel. So
I don't think you'd need an MBA for anything. I think when school gets involved is when it's like science as a business. And then it's like, oh yeah, you should probably know a thing or two about fertilizer before you try and jump into a fertilizer company. But everything else to me is just numbers. Like, because if you think about it, whenever we sit someone down, you can get down to the gist of it within 30 minutes of how their business works. And like, okay, so what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Everything else you can throw into a spreadsheet. And then the rest of it's just like bad things that could happen. It's not really insanely complex math like you need to be a mathematician to figure out.
Yeah.
In my opinion, for most businesses and most people I know who do business, I don't know anybody who runs like something insanely complex.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's dive into this challenge. I'm pissed. How did Title Company blow up a deal today?
Today?
Like right before this, I got an email. Well, so the title company didn't let us know that this thing was going to tax sale.
Why didn't you know it?
We thought we knew. I'm like, yeah, he's on back taxes. And then we pulled it up and the back taxes were fine. And then like, okay, we're fine. And then this morning I get a message saying, hey, if we don't close tomorrow, I lose this thing to taxes. Well, what do you mean?
They didn't.
And
They
so we
didn't
went.
give you the prelim and say, "Hey, here's where things are at. We need to
They
take care
gave
of
us the
this."
prelim, and then Hannah looked it
That was
over our
only yesterday,
TC.
though.
No, bro, this thing's been in. This is that fucking deal in Chicago. This deal that I have been bitching about to you for months with the meter reading. It gets better. So full context, we were supposed to close this thing 3 months ago. And then they're like, hey, we need these other things. We need these other things. We get them those things. And then like, hey, we need more things to close. And then we get a final meter reading. And the guy has it out for us, says like, yeah, everything's fine. And then he goes to the county and lies and says that there's no meter there and they need to replace a new meter. And so that's an issue. And then the guy calls us this morning saying, hey, I'm going to lose this thing to taxes if it doesn't sell today. We're like, hey, like, we thought we knew this. Like, we thought we were good. Ends up, it's not going to happen. And the title company's been a pain in our ass lately. Like, if you want to put up $11,000 to make like $17,000, you can do it. I was like,
numbers.
I don't like those numbers. And I have absolutely zero faith in you as a company to make sure I don't get absolutely completely fucked. So, no. And I would say the
when
number.
You have a deal where you got to come out of pocket to help save it, but like there's not enough meat on it to make it worth it.
It's not worth the risk. I was like, this is not worth any sort of risk for me to come out of pocket. Number one, to trust that you guys could actually get this deal to the finish line when you've proven that you've been incompetent over 3 months. On top of the seller having to agree to actually sign the closing settlement to get this done. I was like, it's just not worth it. And that comes to me. I think the hardest part about the nationwide stuff is really like relationships and finding good vendors to work with. Good people, good vendors.
So still the relationships.
I'd say hands down it's the relationships. Because like the buyer stuff gets wonky in some areas. I was talking to a dude who disposed a lot of stuff in Tampa. And he was like, bro, on our Investor Lift account, we don't even put the address. Anybody, if they want to even get the address, they have to submit proof of funds from the same day to even get the address first, because we've had people just go knock on the door as soon as they get the address and try and snake us.
They do that more in Florida, huh?
Yeah, I was like, bro, if that happened here, someone would get fucking punched in the face.
I feel like they're a little it's more of Wild West in Florida.
I mean, I can't imagine doing that to someone. Like, hey, a deal's up on Investor Lift. Bam. All right, I'm going to the door. I'm knocking it. Like, he was like, bro, I've had people go make an entire website saying, hey, they're wholesaling this house. You don't want to work with them. Work with me. I'll do it. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and so we have a very, very intense buyer qualification program in order for our stuff to even get sent out.
That sucks.
And we ran into it a lot on Investor Lift, where I'd say 60% of the buyers were wholesalers when we sent it out.
Yeah.
And so it's not having like those really built-in relationships, but that's why Novations makes more sense anyways. When you put it on the market, it's, for me, you don't have a bunch of dumbass wholesalers putting stuff up trying to
So let's talk about that. Let me hear your process right now when it comes to dispoing your deal, because you're wholesaling all these deals, right?
Wholesale or Novation. This one we should have gone for a Novation, but as I'm thinking about it, I thought the numbers were good. We got feedback we have it at 305. We had someone at 315, then everything blew up. But I was like, it's a thin one. But now the dude's saying he doesn't want to close until November 30th. If I would have known that, I would have just done an Novation. Priced accordingly.
Okay, so you're saying you think you should have done an Novation on this one, but walk me through your process right now with your challenge, how you're deciding how you're going to sell this deal, whether you're going to go the cash buyer route and what tools you're going to use there, or whether you're going to go the Novation route. What's your process to determine which strategy you're going to use?
If I think it's good enough to sell as like a regular wholesale, and then they say their timeline is here, like it's really short, I'll do that. And to where now, and I got this from Cortez, I need to update our DocuSign. Regardless, we're going to get an attorney in fact signed, and we're just going to put it up on the market. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, everything we do, we pre-market and we put it on the market. But if I look at it, I'm like, hey, we could move this. So me and Greg have one up.
You'd have to have a person if you're doing a lot of deals, you'd have to have a person dedicated to then basically packaging up that deal and sending it off to probably a flat rate listing.
We have someone whose full-time job is dedicated to the dispo administrative side and then transaction coordination. That's all they do all day. Is they're on the phone with the sellers, coordinating photos, packaging it up. We like to get stuff out like 1 or 2 a day if it's coming in like that. And then that makes it easy. If it's going to be flat feed, we can wait a little bit. We'll send it out regularly, and then we'll send it for a week. If we don't really get any bites, then we'll just put it up on Investor Lift, on the MLS.
Okay.
And then it goes to, if it's regular wholesale, it goes up on Investor Lift, and it goes to all of the local Facebook groups. And then all of the local realtors get texted through, we pull everything out of Investor Lift, put it into Resimply, and text all the God mode buyers in the area. And then obviously like all the Artemis stuff you can do.
So you send text messages all through Resimply?
Mm.
Okay. You send any emails out through there too?
I don't send any emails out through Resimply. I guess we could, but I'd want to switch up my domains.
Yeah.
Could.
So
you could get spammed easy.
That's true. You take all your buyers that you connect with from Investor Lift, and you then add them into Resimply.
So all the buyers who we connect with regardless go in Resimply. But when it's a new batch of some area, all of the realtors in that area, we actually use Auto MLS2. Shout out Brad Mortensen. We'll pull all of the agents in that area, and we'll send out a big mass text to them.
Mm.
And then from there,
how's that working?
We need to get it to come across as a blue text message, in my opinion. Because like
makes that big of a difference, huh?
I think it makes that big of a difference. Because like a lot of them are like, oh, I don't want to work with you. It's not on market. You know, like realtors are just kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I could dive in more to that because our girl who does that admin stuff, she built that out for us. And I haven't really approved it. I was like, hey, we use Auto already. Use it for this too. And we implemented that like a week ago. And then we'll go inside Investor Lift in God mode, and you just pull all the buyers within a certain radius. And then you send all them text messages inside Resimply.
Okay.
So, and then if that's not working, then we really start to like pound the phones. And I'm looking into that investor-based company for something that's in a major metro. But if it's not in a major metro, like we have one today that will get signed after this in North Carolina. It's a smaller town. Nothing the area is selling for less than like 170. And this one looks pretty good. And we'll lock it up at 115, put it on the market at like 140. And just see what happens. Investor Lift is worthless in that area. You know, like there's no real buyers, and a novation is the only thing that works.
Yeah.
And so whenever we're approaching the seller, it's like, hey, we have 2 options for you. One of them's going to take 90 to 120 days. The other one's going to take 30 days. And then when I go into it, it's like our 30-day option is a dastardly low wholesale price that has to work. Like it's so low, this thing will sell. And then our novation price is just our regular wholesale price.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless, we get an extra couple, I'd say 10% by putting it on the market if we didn't. But if it's in like a semi-rural area, we'll just tell them like, hey, this is what we're going to have to do. We'd rather just partner up with you on it because we wouldn't be able to move this even if we tried. And then we just go into the novation pitch.
So let's talk about, I kind of want to pick apart the novation process. So when you get a deal and you determine, all right, we just got this deal. We want to go list this on the MLS, put it in front of more buyers? It's likely because you said it's not a major metro and probably not as many buyers. Is that the main reason?
Yeah. Even if I went for one in Florida to where I may have negotiated myself out of it, even if it's in a major metro, I'm going for it. We'll still have like the same price, and then I'll still just give them the same pitch. So like you'll still have our wholesale price super, super low, and then we'll have our novation pitch that's at a wholesale price, and then they can choose. And then a lot of people are like, oh, I just want the one that's more. I don't care. And if I personally think it'll sell within 30 days, I mean, like honestly, one of them we just have to pre-market it. We're gonna collect a spread on top. The other one, you get it in 30 days, but it's gonna be less. Which one do you want? We just go from there.
Okay. So you determine you're going to put it on the MLS, and then you're going to get all your pictures together. You're going to put a listing description together, probably not a big long one, something investor special, something like that, right? Cash sale.
Unless it's good. We have one in like Wiki-Washi, Florida, to where it's not necessarily
Is that a real place?
special. Yeah.
Wiki-Washa?
Wiki-Washa or Wiki-Washi, one or the other. To where that one being more than likely like a true novation.
Okay. We've definitely done those. I'm curious. The reason I'm so curious about the novation for finding investors is because I can see that being really effective. I just haven't done it that way. So if you're marketing to cash buyers, quick sale, having a description like that, putting on the MLS, you're using a flat listing service. What are some of the flat listing services that you know of?
We've used Become and Brokerless, and there's one other one. We've used like 4. Become is okay. They're honestly all okay. If I was Robert Wensley and I thought I was losing market share in my company, I would just go buy all those little flat fee broker companies and integrate them into InvestorLift. Because they're very unsophisticated, they don't work very well together. And then he can have the best of both worlds without losing his market. And then like he can have some proposition to the buyers and to the wholesalers. To me, it's like a no-brainer. But I don't know
because you see people going to the flat fee no broker services because they want to test out the MLS and see if they can get it. Now, would that bring a bunch of unnecessary liability to InvestorLift because of just dealing with realtor associations and
possibly
stuff?
Yeah, but the realtor is the one who takes it on. The realtor is the one who takes on the risk.
So is there an actual realtor who takes on that flat listing?
Yeah, there's an actual realtor who takes on that flat listing, and we just take
it's
all
not
the
like
calls.
It's just automated and published to the MLS. An actual realtor then contacts you and works with you to get it going.
No, one in Illinois he did, and I didn't like it. I was like, we just want to deal with the buyers. You don't need to deal with the buyers, because he's like, whenever I take these, I go and I negotiate for you. I'm getting a percentage point out of this. I want it to be like worth your money. And I was like, bro, I don't care. Like, we do business a certain way, and go keep making money. Like, we already have like everything set up. We don't need you to go out and negotiate on our behalf. To where, because like when we did,
so you can speak directly to the buyer's agents yourself.
Yeah, we speak directly to the buyer's agents ourselves.
Okay. And then are you factoring in that you're going to pay that buyer's agent a commission?
Yeah, we factor in 2%.
Okay,
we'll pay them 2 points.
Because some places you can't.
No,
right?
No, we do not put it in our listing. They just ask, and we tell them 2%.
They'll come out right away and just ask.
Yeah, there's like, what do you want to pay me? Like the other day, I had to talk. Kalani has a double ear infection, so she's been talking to a bunch of these realtors, and she was like, "I see 2%. Will you do 3%?" I was like, "If you get them to this price, I'll give you 3%. If not, I'm not doing 3%." She's like, "Okay," and then she called me back the next day. She's like, "Here's what I got them to." Right, so like I don't really care, especially on these lower price pointed ones, it doesn't make a difference. When it gets to the higher price pointed ones, it can kind of blow up the numbers. Like 1 percentage point can really blow it up.
I find that interesting with realtors that they will just flat out, they're not even interested in the property. They're just like, well, what are you going to pay me?
Yeah, they're just like, okay, so you can for sure pay me another point. I was like, I'll for sure get you another point. I'm not going to get anything in writing. If you get there and you get this thing to the price we want it, whatever, we'll get whatever you want in writing. And then they came back. She's like, hey, I could only get them to like 305. And I think we were at like 317. I was like, and that kind of kills our profit margin for us. But if everything else falls through, we'll reach back out to you. Excuse me. But we talk directly with the buyer's agents and with the buyers. Like we have one in Illinois to where a buyer's agent came in. This thing's worth fucking 50 grand. And he was like, I do 3%. I was like, okay, it's like $500 between like 2% and 3% or whatever. I don't know what it was. And I was like, all right, so you guys good to go? Like, I don't have to like shop this anymore. He's like, nope, I've done this before. I've been in real estate. Like, I know what I'm doing. And I was like, okay, we'll pay you if you can make sure this transaction goes smoothly. And it went smoothly. So I was like, I don't care. And so if you can find a good realtor, they're worth their weight in gold. I'd say finding the good realtors is the hard part. Shout out to Rich Wonders, because I think he has 90-something deals on the board, novation-wise. Finding that many, like finding that many realtors, I can't even imagine, bro.
That sounds like a lot of work. Not to say that it's not worth it, but the thought of like prospecting for realtors to help me, I've seen it. I've heard people talk about it. Shout out to Gregory on IG. What's up? He said, "What's up, boys? What's up, Gregory?
What's going on?"
Yeah, man. That's
we've done it. And where did we do it? We did it in Maine, in Bangor, Maine. Like we went through this whole process, and to me, it didn't feel worth it. And then we did another one in Belleville, Illinois, and just like getting these people to answer their phone. And obviously it's on our side getting the sales pitch down, because the reason Rich does it the way he does is because he gets them to bring in their buyers too. And like, he'll pay a full 6%. And then on some of ours, me and Greg have one in New York. And I posted about this today. Agent out there is crushing it, and we are paying him 6%. But he's, again, worth his weight in gold.
Yeah.
What else you got? Do you know?
All right. So let me think through the rest of this novation. So you get this going, get it on the MLS. Are you getting tons of calls on these properties that you're listing on the MLS, or how long is it taking for you to actually get feedback?
It depends. At a point in time, I didn't think the flat fee MLS was working, and we were just priced wrong. So,
okay.
If it's a good one, I've learned our phone will blow up. Like when we put one out in, where was that? In Austin, our phone like melted for 3 days. Like it was priced right. We had it at 180. We put it out at 200, and we ended up selling it at 210, 215.
Yeah.
And to where
I could see that could be like in a metro like that, where it's super hot,
like in a metro,
money, lots of investors.
There's lots of investors. We had like people like banging down our doors, like, hey, here's how we do business. Here's what it needs to look like. If you are an investor, no, you can't get inside, put on your fucking big boy pants and give us a ballpark. And then if it is worthwhile, then we'll get you inside. If not, and you can't do that with the traditional novation, right? With like a regular homeowner, like they want to go see it, unless it's just priced amazingly. Because most of these things, and we use, so if it's a really, really good novation and we think we need to put it on the market, we use Home Jab for our photos. If it's like a regular like cash transaction.
So what's the Home Jab all about?
They like edit the photos and make it look all nice, like an actual listing.
Okay.
Whereas I went with Investor Boots, who we use to get all of our photos nationwide. It's someone going through with an iPhone and they're just giving us the gist and like 4 videos. So we'll get probably 50, 60 photos with 4 videos. To where if it's a listing like the one in Florida, we're like, okay, we're going to use Home Jab. And the difference, I think, is like $200, $300. And so, when you're doing 4 a week, that can start to add up a little bit as far as cash outlay. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, what is it? What is it worth? Awesome. So guys, this one looks like a traditional innovation. We have to do Home Jab. Or if it's just a regular cash deal, we don't usually do it.
So the flat listing, I hadn't thought about asking this until now, but I guess it's relevant. You're paying that fee regardless of whether you sell it or not, right?
Which fee?
Like just to list the property, right?
Oh yeah, bro. Regardless, it'll probably cost me $500 to sell a property.
Yeah.
Because I have $50 in investor lift credits that we'll use to market it properly. We're going to pay $100 to $400 in the flat fee. We're going to pay probably $50 in text messages in credits. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to pay another $100 to $200 in photos, maybe even $300 to $400 in photos. So I personally don't throw a contract at just anything. We want to make sure it's priced accordingly because there's a lot of effort that goes in on the back end to get that thing moved. And that's why we quit going after smaller stuff. Because if you're going after $10,000 assignment fees, your $10,000 assignment fee can get whittled down really, really fast.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. And I think especially if you've got a deal that's on the fence and you're like wanting to test it out on the MLS because you're like, oh, well, that's going to give me a better shot. You could be looking at $500+ just to test it out, So that's even more of a reason why
you have to do a lot more market research. And if you're like, hey, there's nothing that's sold below this price over here, then we can feel really confident. Like, hey, bro, stuff goes pending really fast. We feel confident that if we get it at this price, we can put it on the market. Like the one I said earlier, it's like a colonial home. We'll see when we get some photos, though. I'd say that's the other hard part. We get photos of some of these things, and it's amazing how these people live.
Yeah.
And then we get it up. But if for a while there, though, I was spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every month in photos and getting stuff up and ready, and we weren't moving anything because it wasn't priced accordingly.
All right.
That's when we started cutting out like the smaller markets and going for bigger spreads just overall.
So I think that's a really valuable lesson because I know personally, especially when I was just getting started trying to like find my groove and figure out what worked, how it didn't work. You can kind of like start testing out things to see what works and what doesn't. And it could be, death by 1,000 needles where it's $100 here, $50 there, a couple $100 there. And then you're like, oh, I just spent thousands of dollars to see if I could make something happen,
Exactly.
To see if this thing worked.
We'd burn through like 5 to 1 month. We were close to 10 grand and just fucking burn on non-revenue producing things. Like it's just like stuff to get it to the finish line. Yeah. That once we've known, okay, these things are what's needed in order to get this thing to the finish line, we do a bunch of them. Now that really starts to add up over time. And so it's like, okay, now you just can't go after the $10,000 one. Because like we JV with Lead Zolo, we do 10, and we walk away with 6 to 7.
Yeah,
and you have to take out the $500 that we spent in just external marketing costs to get it done, and then you have to pay a sales rep, and then you have to pay the TC team.
So that's why Trevor Ahing says, "What's up, my dudes?" He says, "My dudes."
What's going on, my man?
What's up, dude? I'm telling you that. Doing small deals can kill a business. And
I think it can.
It sounds obvious as I say that out loud, like, duh. But some people are just like, oh, I did a deal. I made a couple $1,000 and they're stoked.
Bro, it'll murder you.
You should be like, to get a deal across the finish line is amazing. And it's great. You should be happy. But if you're consistently doing small deals, that can completely like implode your business. And I can say that firsthand. I was, for the first handful of years, part of the reason I was cash broke was because I was doing deals and made some big mistakes. But another part of that, as I continued to scale and push doing more deals and everything, the deals weren't big enough to leave enough left over after reinvesting it into the next deal.
And the operation. You have to build so much infrastructure to do a bunch of small deals. Yeah. And what people don't realize is that the infrastructure costs a lot of time, effort, and money. Yeah. And that's what I learned. Because if I want to do, and I saw Dean's KPIs and I was like, fuck, I'm doing this wrong. That's really what the deciding factor was. Fuck, Dean made $400,000 this month. We put on the books 70 and we had 2 times the transactions. And so I was like, okay, so now, and his team was smaller. Your order was similar sized. I was like, okay, so for all of that effort and all the things that we have to get going, how many transactions do we have to get there? And what does that team look like? If we're going to keep that up, we'd have to have an enormous team, and that monthly outlay and overhead and management would be no fun. To where that's why I think if you can get on the semi outskirts of major metros and you can still get good rips, that's where I'd want to be. You don't necessarily want to be in the heart of the metro and you're death by 1,000 cuts. You're doing small deals in big markets. You want to do big deals in solid markets and go for at least a 20K spread. If you can't go for a 20K spread, it's more than likely not going to be worth it. Because when you shrink it down to that 10 and you're unsure, odds are the market's unsure too.
Yeah.
And the market is going to make you pay for it.
That's a good point. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people over years say, I'm not doing a deal unless I make X, right? For me, it's I'll do a deal if I'm making a couple $1,000, but that's certainly not the average. It's not the normal deal. I'm not going to step over or walk away from money unless it's a really hairy, just obnoxiously difficult, time-sucking deal. Then yeah, it's not worth it, and let someone else deal with that headache. But yeah, if there's $5,000 to be made or $10,000 to be made, or we have a deal that's closing in a couple of weeks, we're going to make $2,500. I'm certainly not excited about it, but it's better than just walking away from it, right? So
we've had to develop the muscle of dichotomy, right? Because I've been okay, no, don't do it. To where now it's okay, don't shut them all off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we could lock up so many onesie twosies, it gets clogged up really fast.
Yeah.
Is the issue.
100%.
We could lock them up and have a bunch of $2,500 to $7,500 pops. But then you never know if they're going to get to the finish line because you're doing nationwide, and you got to make sure it does get to the finish line. Where in California, if I was in Fresno, yeah, bro, I know my numbers 100%. We're in this market day in and day out. This makes sense. When you are in Weeki-Wachee, Florida, and it's on 1.5 acres, but it still looks good,
more like
and you're kind of judging Florida. It. Yes, and it's very wishy-washy. Then it's a different story. And then you multiply that across 20 to 30 a month, then it gets really weird.
So what I'd love to end with, just because I got a time crunch here myself. Let's recap in 3 minutes, a minute each. What's the good? What's the bad? What's the ugly? So we're working through your challenge, $0 to $1 million, right? We've been at it how long now?
Bro, 4 months.
4 months.
And we'll have 100K on the board after this. So it's been a grind for nothing, and so many terrible lessons learned. But
that's the reality, though. I think
it is the reality.
Could you get to zero to $1 million in 6 months? You certainly could.
Right? If I would have picked LA, I think we probably could have hit
it. And I think that's a super valuable point. We can unpack that later, but let's break down in a summary version of what's the good, what's the bad, what's the ugly.
The good, I would say I'm really, really good at sales because of the amount of at-bats I have. And then I feel confident training up a sales team. The bad, believe it or not, we have way too many leads for a long time. And it makes it so you can't step away and build out more infrastructure, because when you're on your own at the beginning and you're panicking about staying on the phone, there's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'd say that's another bad. Small markets and you want to be in a seller's market and be able to negotiate your ass off on the seller side. So I would rather be in like a hot market and me be a good negotiator so I can go in and cut someone at the kneecaps and buy a good deal rather than having to sell my ass off to a buyer, because the buyers are a lot more savvy than the sellers would be. In my opinion, like a buyer does this every day and he's going to fucking grind you down to nothing, to where you can win more on the sell side because you buy houses every day. That seller doesn't sell houses every day. That's just the plain simple fact of it. Yeah. And then what's the ugly, I'd say, is the lack of relationships that you do not have across the country with number one buyers. Dean is great with buyers here in Central California, to where like the Florida stuff where I talked about that. And then lack of like great relationships with title companies. I wish I had Dana Bustamante who could handle all of my transactions.
Right.
Because like the amount of nonsense that we have to deal with these people and like get them on the phone and then like, hey, I don't like these guys because of this, this, and this. I can't get an answer to an email and it's been 3 days. You'd be amazed at how many, even though they're incentivized to just get this deal to the finish line so they make money, most people are not that way.
Yeah.
Is that everything?
Good. That's bad, everything, ugly? Man. Yeah. Awesome.
All right, guys. Good
stuff. Thanks for the update, man.
Of course. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, guys. What else do we got? Oh, we may have a boot camp coming up. Quite possibly. I'll tease it here. We may have a boot camp coming up. It's September. It may be in a month. We're gonna make a decision on Monday.
We're close.
Whether or not we're gonna do it. All right, guys. I will talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.